a way we were doing it, and then we got more information, and then we changed the way we were doing it. And very often, at least in our experience, which is admittedly biased, but we get that more information from autistic people who made connections about something in their special interest or whatever that we didn't make. But then it seems to me like what should happen in the world is when an autistic person makes these connections, which is our contribution to the broader culture, that the broader culture should be like, oh, right, that's a great way to teach choreography. Like, why wouldn't that would help everyone? Episode 71, Belly Dance is Autistic.
Welcome to the Autistic Culture Podcast. Each episode, we dive deep into autistic contributions to society and culture by introducing you to some of the world's most famous and successful autistics in history.
Before we get started, a quick disclaimer on how we use the word autistic. The purpose of this show is not to diagnose the people or characters we discuss as autistic. While some may have announced being autistic, what we're really sharing here is our observation of what is representative of autistic culture. It can sometimes be difficult for autistic people to celebrate our natural tendencies and traits due to the perception of autism as a disorder that needs to be fixed, a long history of damaging medical interventions to get autistics to fit in with mainstream culture, and protective masking skills many of us have developed to try to stay safe.
Whether you are autistic or just love someone who is, your hosts, Dr. Angela Lauria, the linguistic autistic,
and licensed psychological practitioner Matt Lowry, welcome you to take this time to be fully immersed in the language, values, traditions, norms, and identity of Autistica.
Well, hey, Matt.
Hey, Angela. How are you?
I am fantastic. I am ready to get my shimmy on. Are you ready to shimmy with me today?
I was just thinking, so my proprioceptive awareness is remarkably poor. I am essentially a square that runs through things. And when I was much younger, I was at my granny's house for Christmas, and I misjudged the distance between me and a wall. And I was off like maybe 3 or 4 inches.
Same.
And I plopped down, ran straight through the wall, and somebody says, "Where's Matt?" "He's in the kitchen." "How did he get to the kitchen so quick?" "He took the direct route." And
hey, Kool-Aid!
Oh yeah. So I have a great deal of respect for people who have a great deal of proprioceptive awareness, who can dance, especially belly dancing. I have been fascinated by it for years because that is a skill that I am a block who kind of shakes back and forth like Lurch from the Addams Family.
Randomly bumping into things.
Exactly.
Well, me too. My proprioceptive awareness is in the lower percentile. And I was very nervous about this episode, but I'm really excited we have a guest because I wanted to talk about how dance is part of autistic culture. We've certainly talked about Taylor Swift and Shake It Off and how stimming is part of her dance. We have
a shimmy stimmy. Yeah.
A shimmy stimmy. We have talked about how the recent TV show with Wednesday had a famous dance that we thought was not at all autistic, but maybe a simulation of things that might be autistic as portrayed by neurotypical people. So listen to that episode. But this dancer, creator, incredible human I am about to introduce you to made me a little bit braver after I interacted with her Instagram, which we will include in the show notes. She makes dance accessible to people of all different body types. She made me feel like maybe there was a dancer in me. I don't know. And I'm excited for you to learn more about the ways that our culture is represented in dance. So here is Arielle Juliette. She's the owner of Dance Life. And she also uses he, him pronouns because why not? We're a little bit non-binary. So he creates cultivates an atmosphere that celebrates, supports, and embraces the autistic dance expression. Arielle has had a special interest in dance since 2004 and shares her love of Egyptian dance in particular through silly songs and easy to understand anecdotes while leaving behind the holistic conformity of right and left. Thank Christ. And perfection. So fuck perfection and fuck right and left. I can't figure it out anyway. He also creates viral social media videos where he strives to bring his unmasked, joyful, autistic self and the idea that all bodies and neurotypes are worthy.
I like that. I like that message. That's a very, very good message. I like that. I also want to get into the... Oh, sorry, go on.
Go ahead. You also want to get into the difference? I want to hear.
Oh, are you there?
Yeah.
Oh, did we lose Angela?
No.
Oh, okay. Oh, you're back.
There we go.
Oh, good.
Hey, you also want to get into...
It's okay.
You also want to get into...
I want to talk about because again, I have an interest, but again, I'm a wobbly block. The difference between like Egyptian belly dance and Turkish belly dance and the different types, because again, fascinated by it, but wobbly block. So yes. Please, we so many questions. This is going to be a good one. So
I've got the person to answer it for you. It's Arielle. So Arielle, welcome to our show.
Thank you so much for having me here. I am so excited. I love the podcast. I am a super fan, and I cannot wait to info dump with you.
Yes, amazing. Okay, so heads up for our listeners today, and maybe also for our producer, Aaron. My internet's being a little bit weird, so my background is also weird. We are in my kitchen instead of my normal library location. And you guys just keep talking. If my internet pauses, I will be back. But just keep plowing through. I don't know what my internet's doing today, but I don't know. The gods do not want me to do this podcast, but fuck the gods. We are here. We're talking belly dance. Start us at the beginning.
I want that as T-Public merchandise. I want a mug that says fuck the gods.
Fuck the gods. Yeah, seriously.
I wake up every morning, scream at the sky, fuck the gods. I'm doing my thing. I will eat cheese sandwiches and chicken nuggets. You can't, and I will not leave the house. You cannot make me. Yes.
This is the way. This is the way. Okay, special interest since 2004. Take us back in time, Arielle. Start us at the beginning. How did you get into belly dance? How did this special interest find you? And let's talk about dance life, your studio and everything. Give us a little background.
That sounds great. So I started belly dance in high school. My mom actually went to like a variety show that had belly dancers in it. And she had just turned 50 and decided, she wanted to do something different. And hey, belly dance, that fits the bill. So she decided that she was going to go take a class. And I said, oh, I need to go. It didn't even occur to me that maybe my mom wanted some alone time. No, I was going with her. So we've been dancing together this entire time. We started classes in Madison, Wisconsin, and then after that, I traveled all over the country learning dance because belly dance is just such an amazing art form, and I can't wait to talk about all the little different bits. But of course, as a young kid, I was 17, 16 when I started, and I loved the sparkle, the glitz, the glam, the stage, the lights, and I wanted to be a big diva star. So I started following the trajectory that all belly dancers follow, which is you go to workshops and you do competitions and eventually you become a master instructor and travel all over the world. Well, guess who realized that traveling all over the world was probably going to suck so much? This autistic dancer.
I've said that I suffer from Bilbo Baggins syndrome, and that it kills me to leave my hobbit hole. But yes. Go on, please tell.
Well, you created Dance Life. Your studio is your hobbit hole, so you can actually be there and be safe. You don't have to travel, right?
I have made the hobbit hole. In fact, I went out to California to study with a dancer named Suhaila Salampur, and she has a big studio out there. People travel from all over the world to come to her studio. She was the first one to launch live stream classes and online classes, and I saw this in 2008, and I said, this is it. This is the dream right here. I want that. So I opened up Dance Life. It's oh my gosh, if you knew how this started and how it ran, you'd be like, how is this business solvent? It's a wild tale. It runs on glitter and non-denominational Jesus.
There we go. Yeah. I also want that as a mug. Yes.
Yeah.
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 Well, I opened Dance Life in 2010, and we've been running ever since. Made it through the pandemic, which is a big deal.
Oh, yes.
Huge deal.
And because I didn't have the language for it at the time, because I only came to understand that I'm autistic in the pandemic. And honestly, it came through memes of all things. My autistic friends were sharing memes, and I was like,
ooh.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on.
Would it be weird if I hit share on this post?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So then, of course, I had to go research for hours and hours and days and months and years.
As is the way, yes.
Exactly. And so I have had the blessing and the privilege of making my special interest my business. And in the pandemic, when it looked like I was going to lose that, I had an existential crisis, and then bam, went right into do whatever it takes to pivot. So we got live stream classes up and running. About a year later, we had the recorded platform up and running. I started making social media videos, even though making viral videos as an autistic creator sucks ass. I'm not even going to lie. It is no fun. But once you get used to it, it's okay. So I did it because I had to. And that was the love of my special interest. And now we're a lot more open about what we do at the studio and the social justice aspect of it. And I could go on and on.
Okay, well, let's dig into some of it. First of all, just in terms of the space, like what might be different than what we'd find in a regular studio?
Very, very much of it is different from a regular studio. In fact, that's how I sell it. I say, if you have felt left out in traditional dance spaces, come and join Dance Life, because you're going to feel at home here. You're going to walk in and go, these are my people. I am home.
Yeah. I mean, I have an amazing sister who is a dancer. She grew up in Miss Judy's. It was tap jazz ballet, and it was all super skinny girls in leotards that were coordinated. And even just going to pick my sister up after dance class was terrifying to me.
Yes, and so many people come to the studio feeling that and having that memory of that's what a dance studio is like. So first off, it's all adults at my studio, and it's we have age diversity. My mom is 70. She teaches with me. She's in all of my classes. We have a wide diversity of ages, of races, of body types and sizes. I would say that it is diverse in terms of the neurotypes, but we don't get a lot of normies. I'm not going to lie.
They're like, what are those weird people doing?
It's not really made for normies. You know what I'm saying? So it's a very neurodivergent crowd.
I love it. And like, what about things? There's obviously a lot of sensory issues. And I know this is like weird. I keep going back to Miss Judy's dance studio, but like the sound system had some like weird pops, and it was a drop tile ceiling with fluorescent lights. And like, I remember the lights and the sound when I was there. It was like skinny girls, weird sounds, big lights. Please, can I leave? And the smell of sweat, maybe also.
No.
Yes. Yes. So one of the nice things about my studio, we do have the fluorescent lights, and we all hate the big lights, but there's no other way to, the main studio itself is about 1,500 square feet, but it's got these big, high, like 14-foot ceilings. So nothing is close. It's very spacious. Because my mom and I created the space, my mom hates the big light. The big light is always a no for my mom. So we created it with our own sensitivity needs in mind, and it happens to work great for a lot of other people. You know, it's spacious. The lights are anywhere that we can do like table lamps and things. We've done that. The music system, sound quality is such a huge deal for me. It has to sound good, because if it doesn't, I can't focus. So all of those things are met, because otherwise I can't exist in the space.
Well done. Well done.
I love that. I love that.
That's self-advocacy.
When autistic people find a special interest, they go deep and have a lot of knowledge, even if they don't have that formal education background to go with it. If you want to capture your spin in a book, check out Angela's work at differencepress.com, differencepress.com, and find out more about becoming an author and establishing your credibility with a book.
Yes.
I want to on the flip side of that, there's a lot of elements to belly dancing, like the sound, like the costumes have a lot of different textures and have a lot of the like different metally bits that jingle and stuff. How does that work? Is it sensory friendly for you? Is it cacophonous? How does that work? Because again, I've never done it myself. I've only seen it. So tell me about it.
So it is cacophonous, I'll be honest, more on like a touch level than a sound level. Most of my costumes don't have sound bits on them, and I don't wear coins usually because it's too loud. But I can only be in the pretty stuff for an hour or two at the most, and then I have to escape. Yeah, so when I pick costumes, I try to pick things that are going to be the most sensory friendly, but there's only so much you can do. Yeah.
Yeah, because again, it seems like traditional belly dancing. Again, when we talked about again, many questions about Egyptian style versus Turkish style, and the kind of accoutrements that go along with it all.
Yes.
How do you choose what is your specific style? How did you choose it? Why do you choose it? So many questions around all of that, about like sensory preferences, personal preferences, how it goes with dance style. Lay it all on us.
Oh my goodness. So this is why, because I study all different kinds of dance, but Egyptian dance and belly dance have been my enduring interest. And this is why, because you scratch the surface and you see some pretty drum solos and you see some pretty costumes, and it's glitzy and it's glamorous. And then you dig in and there is so much to know. The more you know, the more you realize that you need to know. Like, it's just so amazing. And that's why I love Egyptian dance.
Data hunger. Yes.
Yes. Oh my God. And you can never fill up on it. There's always more to know because every region has its own dance style, its own costume style that goes with this particular beat. And then this place does it a little bit different. You go all the way over to the Gulf and it's totally different. Like, every place has its own distinct style, and Egyptian dance is the most well-known and probably the most researched, which is probably how I ended up in that one, because there's just so much readily available information on it that it's just
Arielle, I know you have a million questions on the plate, but I have to add one right now. I'm curious about your definitions between cultural appropriation and cultural appreciation, and where I'm sure you've thought about this.
Absolutely. So much about that. So for me, and being a white person in an art form that is not in my style, to me, the difference between cultural appropriation and cultural appreciation is, are you presenting the art form? So here's my ultimate. Here's what it comes down to. If I were to do this dance for nobody but the people of that culture, would they be excited to see that or not?
Ooh. Wow.
Or would it be like inviting an Italian person to Fazoli's?
Right, exactly. Right. And I don't think enough people think about that. Like, when you present an art form, is it true to the art form? Because Egypt was colonized by the UK. So there is definitely an influence of British and Western ideals on Raqs Sharqi as we know it. So the art form that you see, right, with the pretty costumes, the videos that go viral, that art form is called Raqs Sharqi. And that is already kind of a hybrid dance. It's fully Egyptian, but Egyptians took some of the Western influences and put them into, like, the big orchestras and things like that. There's some Western influence that came to be. So it's already kind of a hybrid dance. So what I've discovered dancing for Arab audience and Middle Eastern audiences is that if you are doing justice to the art form and you are staying true to the feeling, because it's not about the moves, it's about the feeling. If you are staying true to the feeling, you'll be welcomed in that space. So for me, I see my place in the belly dance world as helping to bring in all the people who would have been left behind, who would have never had an opportunity to learn this dance because they can't learn from other teachers. It just doesn't work for them. So my job is to bring them in. I only teach beginning and intermediate level classes. If you want to master, I'm not the one. You should go study with a source person if you want mastery. I'm here to give you the basics, and then I will send you on your way to learn from the people who we should all be learning about. So it's appreciation when you're supporting the culture, when you're being clear about who your references are, when you're making sure that it's culturally sensitive and something that audience would actually want to watch. And appropriation is where you come in and decide, I like these pretty moves, and I taught 6 weeks of class, or learned 6 weeks of class, so I'm going to go start teaching and dress as Princess Jasmine. And there's a place in France where the necklace, that's
Okay, so and we are going to put in the show notes some of those like masters that you reference and some of that source material, so you can see where Arielle has studied and where she might point you to in that, because we want to definitely be respectful there. But your expertise as a neurodivergent person teaching dance for a long time, I don't know, 14 years at least since you opened your studio. Yep. Are you somebody that thinks of yourself as naturally coordinated? Yeah, like, I feel like I was always called uncoordinated. Of course, right Matt in the middle of the question. Square. Are you somebody who thinks of yourself?
You cut out for Aaron will have to edit that because you blanked out for a bit.
Just keep going. You don't have to stop. It's still recording on my side, so I'll just repeat the question, and then once you get the gist of what I'm saying, if you answer, it's fine. I just don't want him to have a ton of editing, so just keep plowing. But are you somebody who thinks of yourself as like naturally coordinated, or like as a natural dancer, or is this something you had to learn? And what would you do with blocky, clumsy people like me and Matt to help them and introduce them in that kind of beginning way?
So I would say yes and no to the lack of coordination. So one of the things that appeals to me so much about belly dance is how much of it happens internally, happens between, the head and the hips and the knees, and you don't have to go anywhere to do it. Those moves came pretty naturally to me. I had done hip hop dance prior to coming into belly dance. I just learned it on my own, just watching music videos like we do every day. Sorry, Mom, come home when parents weren't home and put on BET to watch the music videos and learn the dance moves, because that was the only way to learn.
Daily study, yes.
So I wonder, would that be proprioception, Matt? Or is that interoception?
It's proprioception. Proprioception is proprioception and vestibular sensation are the awareness. Proprioception is the awareness of your body in like space and time, and vestibular stimulation is like the inner ear. I'm upright. Oh no, I'm tipping over, and it's I don't know. They're very, very much interlinked, but both necessary for coordinated movement of dancing, because otherwise it's just flailing in a Princess Jasmine costume, and which I've seen my share of, but you just go good effort.
And would you just based on these early descriptions that Arielle's giving, does that sound like sensory seeking, like vestibular sensory seeking, proprioception? Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, and that's why I cause Aaron so much heartache with, the editing, because I'm constantly rocking back and forth, and listeners may notice a noticeable creak in my chair because I need to constantly move and twist and turn, and Aaron pulls his hair out every single time because that has to be edited over. And I know someone who is an autistic evaluator, the only other person in Kentucky, who has a massive history of dance. And I've tried for years to get her to open a dance studio, because there's so many autistic people who need movement, movement for self-regulation. And the idea of you coming home every day and saying, those people are dancing, I shall learn what they are doing. It's like learning a language, which again, I find fascinating. There's so many regional, is there a word for dialects of dance with all these different regional specific spins on it? Because it's like learning a new language, and you repeat it, and it's essentially proprioceptive echolalia. And I don't know if there's a word for that, where you mimic movements. There's actually a Marvel character called Taskmaster who does exactly that, and exactly heavily autistically coded, but that's a whole different thing. But for the ability to mimic these movements and engage in proprioceptive awareness in order to say, when I do this, and to have that muscle movement, that muscle memory.
Echopraxia.
I was just about to say echopraxia.
There we go. Yes.
That's super
very good. So tell us about the echopraxia, because that is excellent.
Yeah, so that is something. So the internal movements, those came easy. Knowing where I was in space did not. However, echopraxia is my superhero power. There was a character in Heroes who could watch something on YouTube, and then she knew how to do it. That's what I can do. That's my superhero power. So that's I have always been very good at mimicking movement. I used to be really good at mimicking sound too, but I lost that one when I started focusing on the movement. But so that's what I love so much about it, is that all dance forms, as far as how you move your body, there's only so many ways that you can move a body, roll your hips, and it's the emphasis that you put on it that makes it the style. So for example, the pelvic roll in belly dance is going to be one that's emphasized on the in and the in and the in, whereas the same motion in, say, the hula or Tahitian dance is softer and it's on the out, right? And you're not going to use your abs at all because you can't get it to go fast. How do you make that hip hop? You sink it down lower, you lean forward while you do it. So it's just these little subtle details of where do you put your skeleton to make it look right.
It is an accent. It's exactly what you said, Matt. It's like an accent. There's only so many phonic sounds.
And on the topic of people with neurodivergencies, especially autistic people, tend to be super flexible. And are you in fact super flexible? And does that factor into your dance?
It does.
Yeah, lay it on us, because it seems like flexibility would be a plus. Again, blocky shimmy. But tell us all about it.
So that is something that has factored in a great deal. So one thing in particular that people comment on is the flexibility of my rib cage. I can do a whole lot with my rib cage because everything is just my SI joint, all of that around. My hips are all really flexible. So it gives me a really big range of motion. And that doesn't mean that people who have less flexibility can't do it just as well. I can just make it really big because of that. I'm lucky that the hypermobility, to the extent of damaging, seems to have skipped me. My mom is also very flexible, and she's always been able to just flop over, put her hands on the floor. Still at 70, she can do that, no problem. So we've got the right amount of mobility to be helpful, but not so much that it's harming the body, which is one thing that I love about this dance, because it's a cultural dance. This is a dance that people do at parties. This is something that you'd see your grandma doing. It's meant to be done by normal bodies. You don't have to mold your body into the dance like so many Western forms.
I like accessibility because again, if you go with ballet, there's this belief that if you don't get to it by, I don't know what, 5, you have to mold your skeleton and mold your meat body into a specific way in order to get it to be acceptable.
Exactly.
So tell us about the cultural ability for anyone to dance, that it's appropriate for all bodies, all types, all ages. The accessibility is fantastic here.
So to put it in terms of United States dance, we don't say, "Oh, you don't have the body for a hokey pokey."
Right. Right.
Turn yourself around, sir.
Nobody's like, "Excuse me, your ass is too big to electric slide. I'm going to need you to step off the dance floor." You know what I'm saying? So so I still call it, belly dance is the colonized term for this art form. And I still refer to what I do as belly dance because there is no other blanket term. Because in my class, of course, the Autistic Way, we study all these different styles. I like to introduce people to the different things, give them kind of a 101 on each of these things and where they can learn more. Here's some videos that we watch.
And that's Rock Sharky is one of them, or there are other
yes, Rock
more
Sharky
correct
specifically is the Egyptian performance style, and then Roxvality is the folk style, right? The style that people do at parties. So when we say everybody in the Middle East belly dances, it's not true, and it also is true. Not everybody performs. Definitely not everybody wears the spangly costumes, but everybody has a few moves. You know what I'm saying? You'll see uncle with a little shoulder shimmy, a little up and down. You see auntie doing some hip lifts. Everybody has a few moves that they do because dance is so much a part of Arab culture in a way that we just do not have here in the United States.
That makes me so
White
happy.
culture, anyway.
Oh my God, that's so cool.
And then the shimmy thing, I grew up in an Italian American household, and I feel like shimmying was such I don't know, it was always there. When I was little, we would do the shimmy. I feel like there was people on Merv Griffin that would do the shimmy. It was a thing. It's such a thing, but it is actually a dance move. It's not just
Yep, absolutely. So when you see Matt doing this, oftentimes it's going to be a slower, right? So when you see a professional belly dancer do a shimmy, the pace is going to go da 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 da. when you watch not a professional dancer do it, the pace is going to go dot, 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 dot. It's the same move. It's just softer and slower.
Da 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 da. We gotta talk about
Yes.
how you just described that. You did not say like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Like, so what were you doing there when you were explaining that to me?
So every choreography that I make, every time that I explain a dance, I have a sound that will go with that movement. And everything has a sound, and it has like a normal description of like, okay, you're flipping a light switch on with your butt cheek. Boom, pop it back, flip that light switch on, or you're try to get your shoulder blade to scratch your butt cheek. What if you were trying to get your shoulder blade to scratch your butt cheek?
Oh my.
Matt and I are doing it. If you're not watching the video, you're missing out.
Yeah.
So is this how you teach? Like, so instead of like reveille, arabesque, fifth position, I don't know what all those dance words are, but these are the words you use. Turn off a light switch with your ass cheek.
Yes, and there are names for everything, of course, but there's no codified system in any of the Middle Eastern dance forms. There's no, like ballet has a codified system. If you say rondejam, everybody knows what a rondejam is. But if you say Maya, half the people will know what you mean. So there's no codified system. So I do use some normal names, and I do use some that are not normal, like the hippo nippo chin. Because it goes from your hippo to your chin.
The hippo nippo chin.
Nippo chin.
That's awesome.
And then on top of that, when I teach choreography, I never use counts. I hate it. I only do it if a normie requests it, because it's never somebody who's neurodivergent who asks for the counts. Rarely anyway. So I have words that I sing to all of the songs. So we just had a lift and a ball change and sway. And sway, lift and a ball change and sway, and sway. And it's just about shifting your weight from side to side. Don't think right and left, because that's not important. Right and left is what makes dance hard, and it sucks. And it's a Western conception of conformity and uniformity.
And we're bad at that. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. And why should we? It's a dumb rule.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's all about the conformity in the Western and yeah, and that's the thing, because there and like, again, we've got a lot of like repression here of sit still and don't move and quote unquote be good, and the
and then when you do move, this is the right way to move.
Right. There are
step ball
sanctioned
change,
ways.
step ball change,
Yes.
like box step, that's allowed. So
the freedom of movement and the encouragement of movement as a culture, I find that fascinating, and boy, I wish we had that here. But please, continue more.
When we talk about normally, and again, I'm a very brain, not body centric autistic person, right? But when I think about bottom up processing, and I always think about like Sherlock Holmes, the way he's got the hyper connected brain, he sees all these details, he puts them together really fast. I think of that as a brain thing. It's like, I'm going to gather facts that could be written down, and then I am going to share them in words. I feel like you're doing some sort of bottom up processing here, but I don't quite know how to understand it, because it's like you're doing it proprioceptively instead of like linguistically.
Right, exactly. Well, I think part of that is, so this reminds me of another one of my superpowers, which I can see your skeleton and muscular system as it's moving. I've had so many students, and I've looked at so many bodies that I can see your skeleton in action. So I think that that's part of the bottom up processing, is that I'm starting with being able to see all of the skeletons. So I can see, okay, 70% of skeletons are going to struggle with this move in this way. So let's address this. And 30% of skeletons need this. And then when we get to this, so we break it down like that. I think that's part of the bottom up processing.
That's the pattern matching. Yeah, bottom up processing.
Exactly. Yep.
But you're not matching like words or like kind of data. I mean, they are data facts, but it's not like you read a chart. It's like you're reading a body and gathering points of info from that. So
it's meat body language. That's neat.
It's meat body language.
That's so cool.
Meat sack in my class. I say, okay, how's your brain sack? Your brain sack got it? Okay, how's your meat sack? Is the meat sack following?
Wow.
That's fantastic. I love that.
So let's there's a translation when I see a dance, I see someone else doing a dance, even like a TikTok dance, and then there's the translation to me doing it. So like, I know you don't do an 8 count, but you'll do something in class. I don't know, I'll call it an 8 count, a little section of a dance, and then people have to copy you. How do you get them to learn a dance? Like what are the steps?
Here's a literal bottom-up processing. We start with the feet. Okay, get the feet, get your weight shifts. Then we move to the hips. Get the hip movement. Okay, you got that. Now add the chest and arms.
No way. Nobody, what just happened? Nobody ever fucking taught me that way.
That's the way.
Oh,
this is the
I
way,
want to
yes.
Try. It works really well.
I can imagine that's and again, that makes it incredibly accessible to autistic people because, oh my God, everything about that is just, again, that's fantastic.
And it's sort of like a few weeks ago on the show, Matt and I were talking about how we put our forks in the dishwasher, and it's not that interesting, but it's just like our conversation was basically we had a way we were doing it, and then we got more information, and then we changed the way we were doing it. And very often, at least in our experience, which is admittedly biased, but we get that more information from autistic people who made connections about something in their special interest or whatever that we didn't make. But then it seems to me like what should happen in the world is when an autistic person makes these connections, which is our contribution to the broader culture, that the broader culture should be like, oh, right, that's a great way to teach choreography. Like, why wouldn't that would help everyone? That wouldn't just help neurodivergent people.
Yeah.
Right.
Sometimes I have to break people out of the counts and I say, stop, nope, you don't need it. Okay, did you go out? You went in. It was good. Did you turn around and get back to the front? Good. It doesn't matter which way you went. It's fine.
But why isn't I feel like
why don't everybody does it?
Why doesn't that? You're right. Like you figured it out. You're right. Arielle needs to change choreography forever. We need to get you on So You Think You Can Dance. You need a bigger platform.
I was going to, back when I was 26, 10 years ago, I was going to audition for So You Think You Can Dance. It is unfortunately super brutal on the body, and I already had the studio and decided I couldn't do it. But yeah, I agree. Make me a choreographer now. Because I have so many people who say I could never learn dance until this, and I can do this.
Oh my God, Arielle, you are a gem. This is amazing. Let's talk more. What don't we know about belly dance? What would surprise us? Tell us more about you.
Oh, let's see. So, we haven't touched on the social justice aspect of it, which I think is integral to belly dance. And a lot of other professional belly dancers are also on the same wavelength. Art is political. You can't separate art from politics. It's impossible. Bodies are political. Being visible in a body is political, so there's no way to exist as a visible artist without getting into social justice. And I think especially as white dancers in a cultural art form that is not ours, it is particularly important that we stay in touch with what's going on in those communities and to make sure that we are uplifting as many people as we can. So when I started social media, when I was going to go on So You Think You Can Dance, I had an eating disorder because I believed that I needed to be thin to belly dance. I needed to have long hair. I needed to be cisgendered. I needed to conform. And as I recovered from that, it's hard to bust out of one system and then not look around and go, oh, fuck, man, there's a lot of these.
Yes.
Okay, let's get to work.
Yeah, decolonization of all of it, because again, the little boxes that they put you in. Yeah. So how did you grow? How did you change? How did you find your true self? How do you confront these systems?
So this was something that I had to be brought to my knees. My health started to suffer, and my lights flickered. My health started to suffer, and I realized that I was dieting to be thin for my health, but I was clearly not doing well. Hang on just a second. That's going to distract me. And probably all of us, because I know my people. There we go.
Yes. By the way, if you're not watching the video, her lights were flickering and we were all paying attention to that instead of her.
Yes, exactly. Must address the flicker.
Yes.
So as I broke out of diet culture and started to see how that was a system of colonization, you can't see that and not then see all of the other things. So when I got onto social media, I knew, because I'd recovered from anorexia at that point, I'd come into the body that I'm in now, which is a small plus size body. I knew that space was not going to be made for me in this world, and I had to make the space for myself. So my tactic for that was to address it head on. I'm just going to say it. I'm going to say the part that nobody else is talking about, because other dancers just ignore. There's this culture of, oh, just ignore it. Don't feed the trolls. And I think that's bullshit. No, I'm going to tell the trolls that what they're doing is messed up, and I'm not going to have it. And I'm going to elbow my way to the table, whether you're giving me
Arielle feeds his trolls on social media. That is for you. You've got like a whole meal out there, smorgasbord. Okay. So there are a couple of things I want to talk about fat in general for a little bit, because this was part of, I am a huge maintenance phase podcast fan. And that is, this podcast is based on maintenance phase. And
I love it so much.
Yes. Matt doesn't know it, but he's Aubrey. I'm Michael Hobbs. I'm obsessed with this podcast. Go listen to it. Start with episode 1. But I really thought, I've also gone through eating disorders. I've lost 100 pounds 8 times. I've done all the things. I've had bariatric surgery. I've done all the things. And I really thought it was about my health. I don't know why I thought that, because I never questioned that until I listened to maintenance phase. But everyone seemed to tell me. So I thought, like, thinner equals healthier. And it 100% doesn't. So, like, I have a lot of feelings about my bariatric surgery, but as an example, my bariatric surgery has led to a bunch of hernias. That's like a side effect that you saw. So I lost weight. By the way, all of my numbers were great. My blood pressure was great. Like I was perfectly healthy in a larger sized body.
Yep.
And then, so a bunch of things have happened since I've had bariatric surgery. So my vision has completely gone. This has to do with like inability to absorb vitamins.
Yes.
So I have gone from having amazing iron levels in my blood that I never thought about and no one talked about, to having very severe anemia. Yeah. My hemoglobin often drops below 7. I think 5 is dead. I don't know. They get very alarmed when they see the 7. I have my duodenum. I don't know what that is. I didn't have to know before, but it's super far away from my stomach. So it doesn't matter. I could just eat red meat full time and nothing else, carnivore diet style, and I would still not absorb the iron. So I have to get like iron infusions, but there's side effects of the iron infusions that have led to like these hiatal hernias that I get, which have led to surgeries, none of which is as healthy as I was before when I was 315 pounds. So I happen to be in a smaller plus size body, which I guess is great, but I am definitely not healthier.
Right.
But what I will say is I am very often more comfortable with certain movements that weren't comfortable. So this isn't an exact parallel, but like I really struggled to breastfeed because the way that my particular body and anatomy was, there was no place for a baby. The baby was getting suffocated by all the other things. So I'm not breastfeeding now, but I probably could. So I could see, and I want to talk about this with your weight. I maybe I'm wrong because I'm not a dancer, but I could see certain dance moves being easier, or at least having the story in your head, I will be a better dancer with less things in the way. And then belly dance is so particular because there's a certain amount of belly that is required for said dance. So can we talk about your eating disorder, your experience with belly dancing at different sizes?
Yes. Yeah. So my experience with this, and I will say that it's a misconception that belly dancers have to have a belly. I get that comment all the time on my social media, but if you go and look at the top professionals, there's no fat dancers. There's not even plus size dancers. The standards for professional belly dance are a size or 2 above model standards. So sample sizes are like size 2 or size 4 for models. For belly dance, it's going to be 4 to 6.
Oh, so huge.
And anything 8 or above is considered plus size in the belly dance world. And I would be like goddess sized at size 14.
Okay.
So yeah, it's it's an extremely tight standard, even though there's this. And sure, if you're a normal person, again, we don't say, oh, you got too much belly to hokey pokey. You know, in that same way, everybody can do the standard movements. So I have found that there are some differences, but it's one of those things that I think a lot of people, when our bodies are shifting, don't give them enough time to adjust. So for example, getting up and down off the floor, because I gained about 70 pounds in recovery. So that's, that's a significant amount for my body to adjust to. Getting up and down off the floor was really hard for the first year or two. It was just hard. And then all of my muscles acclimated to that, because our bodies are incredible and they can adapt to extra weight. It just takes some time. So things like undulations, that's the body roll up to down, sure, those are a little harder. I wouldn't even say harder with more belly. It just looks different. It's not going to look the way it looks on a flat belly. And I think people get this understanding of, if it looks different, then it's wrong. But it's not wrong for being different. And there are definitely some things that are easier. Everybody can learn to shimmy, but if you have more fat on your body, it's going to be easier to shimmy. And I got to the point in my anorexia journey where I started to lose my shimmy. I started to have so little fat on my legs that I didn't have my frequency anymore, because every body has a frequency for the shimmy. And I lost my frequency. So that shimmies are much easier.
We love sharing stories of autistic culture. And if you are seeing yourself in any of these stories and you're wondering if maybe you're one of us, or maybe you're already diagnosed or self-diagnosed, and you want to know if Matt can help you live your life better and be more authentically autistic, check out his website at mattlowrylpp.com. That's Matt, M-A-T-T, Lowry, L-O-W-R-Y. And then that LPP, it stands for Licensed Psychological Practitioner. So head on over to mattlowrylpp.com and learn more about working with my buddy Matt.
In our episode 69, I have gone on record as, Sir Mix-a-Lot and I are simpatico on that. I prefer to see hips and butts, and
Matt likes big butts, and he cannot lie.
I cannot lie, and that's the thing, because especially with belly dancing and the hips, small hips, I'm not going to judge someone for having small hips, but the larger the hips and the larger the butt, then
you just like the frequency. Now that we're learning Arielle's new terms.
I think that Sir Mix-a-Lot would adapt to this, and we could have a brand new song based on that. So, yes.
I agree. Yeah. Sir Mix-a-Lot, we need music about the standing wave of shimmies.
I like that, yes. God, it's so mathematical. The Adventure Time people would love that. So, yes.
I know this would be a whole episode, Arielle, but what were the stories that had to change in your head for you to let your body be the weight it wanted to be? Like, for me, the big one was health is not the same as thinness. I still get confused sometimes. Mm-hmm. Like I said, there was like some sort of defensive football player that was over 300 pounds. And I said something to my son. I'm like, that guy is so big. How does he run? And my son's like, Mom, weight has nothing to do with how fast you run. Fitness does. Fitness is not weight. And I was like, oh, wait, it's not? What? Huh? What? So I feel
his body adjusted.
Right. That's what you were just saying. Right. Yeah. And it's so obvious, I think, especially for Gen Z. Like, I love Gen Z so very much.
Me too.
They so get it. And he just looked at me. He's like, why would you equate weight with fitness? And that's what you're saying about your body to adjust. Yes. But the reason why I would is capitalism has fed me a story that my value is based on my weight. And if I'm overweight, I should be spending money to make that not be the case. What were the stories you had to change? I know we can't get into all of this, but give me some, particularly as
so this was a really, because especially when you are getting paid for how your body looks, because there's no denying that we are ornaments in addition to being instruments in the belly dance world. And many dancers are not hired for their skill, but how pretty they look in the costume. So I had to let go of my literal financial worth being like based on how my body looked. I had to let go that I would like be financially ruined and end my career to allow my body to settle at its natural size. And I've stopped gigging. I don't go and do gigs because who hired the fat belly dancer? No, if you know a fat belly dancer is coming, fine, but we're just not going to out of the blue that one because that's not fun for me either. So things have changed, but my financial worth didn't drop, thank God, because of that. So I had to let go of like my net worth being based on that. I had to let go of me as a person being more worthy to be beautiful. I also had to let go of thin, meaning healthy, because I, like you, was in perfect health before I started dieting. Then I developed a bunch of eating disorders. I got fibromyalgia. My thyroid started shutting down. I was having all kinds of problems. So I had to let go of thin being healthy. I had to let go of keeping an outrageous schedule of dancing 20 hours a week as being valuable to myself and others. I had to let go.
Capitalism. That's capitalism at work.
Exactly. It was capitalism. Letting go of, I remember telling my wife back when I was still gigging, I had cut my hair because belly dancers are supposed to have long hair, right? I was like, I'm going to put this wig on. I look cisgendered. This was before I knew I was trans, so I had to let go of looking cisgendered.
And that's a question, because when it comes with all of the other expectations of how your body, quote unquote, should look in order to be, capitalist and, all this other neuronormative bullshit. When did you get to the point where you said, I am comfortable with my meat body, or that you are uncomfortable, and that's when the trans identity, you said, oh, wait a minute, I think I've discovered something about myself. How did all that go?
Ooh, okay, well, so let's see. Hang on, what was the first part of the question? Let me make sure I'm getting all the bits.
Oh man. Number one, realizing that trying to conform your meat body to, the bullshit standards, and number two, when did you realize the trans? Okay, yes.
Okay, so the coming to terms with my body just being what it is was a slow process. Maintenance phase has been essential. I've read and listened to everything Aubrey Gordon's ever
Me
done.
too. She's my fat friend.
I know, I love her so much. And
I love her so much.
Christy Harrison's early work with Food Psych, Sabrina Strings, Fearing the Black Body. I read all the books that they tell you to read. I gobbled them all up, and I had to really believe it myself to be able to put myself out there, right? Because going on to social media,
which I just have to say is like so much grief.
Yeah,
nobody
so much grief.
So much grief. So
I
much grief
for years and didn't show myself. This was before the pandemic, and I'd stopped gigging because I didn't think I deserved to be seen. Yeah. Right. So I had to break all of that down. And then it was in the pandemic that I came to understand both that I was trans and autistic. And realizing I was trans more came about when you say things out loud and then you're like, did you just hear yourself? That was weird. So I had a friend who came out as agender, and I was talking to my wife, and I said, I respect this identity. I just I feel like I can't understand it because I feel like both.
Ooh.
Because you don't identify as non-binary.
I do not. No, I identify as bigender. So I call myself a world woman because the world sees me as a woman, and a trans man. I'm both.
Yeah, I totally get that. Like and I get how it's so different from non-binary. But it's like, I noticed in your bio, you're like, she uses she, her, and he, him pronouns. And I was like, oh, that's so different than she, they, or he, they, and so that journey it takes a certain amount of unmasking and self-acceptance to even get to that level of, if you just say gender queer, which may have been a step in that process, it makes sense to be like, something's not normative here. Like something's not just the way other people are talking about gender, but to get to that level of specificity, you have to know yourself at such a deep level.
And that one was hard because there are not a lot of bigender people. So it took me so long to figure out who my people were and what my experience of gender was, and why did I feel like I fit in some way, and why did I feel like I didn't fit in other ways. And then I couldn't take testosterone. I tried to transition and I couldn't. My body said, absolutely not. So that was really fun too, to look at what does it mean to be trans in a very visibly femme body.
And femme career.
And femme career, yeah. I put on a lady costume all the time.
I was like, can guys belly dance?
Absolutely.
Do you have guys in your
can and
studio?
do. Yep. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yep. And there are lots of professional male belly dancers as well.
Oh, who knew? Learned a thing.
Yep.
So, okay, let's talk about haters.
Yes.
Because you are very active on social media and you're very much yourself. And I see that as a part of your social justice work, like just being so beautifully present in the ways you are. But how do you deal with that? And what's the self-care behind it? And how often do you find yourself turning off comments?
So that was something that was very difficult to adjust to in the beginning because I had seen other dancers on like YouTube back before social media was even a thing, belly dancers on YouTube who, if they had the teeniest amount of fat, were just getting shredded in the comments. And I was like, there's no way I can tolerate hearing that about myself. But then when it came to close the business or tolerate this, I chose to tolerate it. And I've actually come to find no one is as creative or as terrible at insulting me as I am. You know what I'm saying? I can give myself grade F level insults. You're up here. You can't insult me. You can't say shit to me. I've already said it all to myself and way worse. So I actually found I used to write blogs for my studio, and I said that internal critic, I called him Chad, named him Chad. And I was like, when your internal Chad starts turning into external Chads, you get on your own side really fast. So I recommend people have haters. I recommend you have haters and that you say to them, fuck you, I'm doing me. That's our phrase for a show we hold at the studio. And it has been so healing. I don't fight myself like I used to because I know what it feels like to fight other people. And my body's only ever been on my side. They've not done anything for me. So because
exactly.
People,
that's the thing. That's the thing. Yeah. Yeah. Why on earth would you ever internalize and accept criticism from people that are just, hi, I don't know you and I don't understand anything about you, but I don't like you. It's like, bite me.
Okay, yeah. I don't like you either, and I'm going to tell you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, seriously.
Because it's people tell me ignore it, but we all get these comments. If you live in a body like mine, and especially if you live in a body larger than mine, you've heard all of these things, and maybe you might believe some of these things. So I make these videos, the clapbacks, are to fuel people with the strength to say, I don't need to tolerate this either. Maybe if she doesn't need to tolerate it, maybe I don't need to tolerate it. So my goal is to infuse people with my anger. Because we do not deserve this. We don't deserve this. And if the world is going to discriminate against us, at least we cannot have that inside of ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well done.
I have a place I want to go with this, but I don't know if it'll resonate with you. But for me, one of the tools that I use with the haters is community of people that get me. Has community been important in your journey? And is community something that's important to Dance Life members and studio members?
Yes. So we jokingly refer to Dance Life as the Church of Dance Life. It's not at all religious or Christian or anything like that, but we call it the Church of Dance Life because it feels like that it's a spiritual center for us. So that's part of why the haters don't matter, because they all say the same things. It's always the same things. They're never getting a new insult. But when people come to me and say, this changed my life and it gave me the strength to try a solo or try this or live my life in some way that I felt held back from, that is meaningful. That's why I do it. And when we gather at the studio, it's not just about dance. It's about coming together for our weekly regulatory time. You know, we have this set time that we will always come and regulate together. We're going to shimmy, we're going to stim, we're going to sing, we're going to sweat. It's going to be awesome. You will stop thinking for a second. You'll get a little bit in touch with what's going on down here, which will help in other places too.
I feel like I have never consciously group stim. I don't have shame around it anymore, but it feels very like a solo activity. Is it different when you stim and commit? Like we're all going to stim together?
Yeah, does that go along with the resonance, the body resonance? If you have many bodies resonating together, what is the effect of that? Both like from the purely physiological sense, but also from a spiritual, a bigger sense of feeling
like
that energy.
Co-regulation.
Neat. I have never thought about that. That's
Me
so
neither.
Cool. Explain.
It really is. And I think that that's what the spiritual aspect of the studio is, you know, that coming together for that resonance. It's not about the dance. Yeah. It's only peripherally about the dance. You know, there's so much more than just the dance.
So that's the thing. There's these things called the suffragio tones, and there's like 7 different ones at these different frequencies. From what I've read, I don't know if how much. I've read research. Again, deep dives, all this kind of stuff. They can. It's this like healing sort of sound wave, and a lot of them turns out to be in like Gregorian chants, and there's this resonance where people can resonate together. But this is a physical form of that, and that's fascinating to me because it links with all of this. How do you, and again, movement produces sound, movement produces vibration. Because again, if you have a lot of people stimming together, the environment is going to be shaking in a certain way that vibrates everybody on a frequency that unites them. And that sort of community, this is fascinating. Tell us more. I want to know more.
It's like the cat purr lives inside of us. You know how cats bring?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. So it's a humanization of the cat purr. The cat purr does heal. That's the reason why they get on you and purr. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, neat. Oh, that's so cool.
Yep.
I like this. Oh,
I feel like
I subscribe to your newsletter.
I know. We need to do like a pilgrimage to Wisconsin.
Yes.
Where in Wisconsin are you in Madison? Where are you?
There's an airport right in Madison.
This is amazing.
That is neat. I like this.
Let's see if you can do a little recap for us.
Oh, man.
Arielle, before we say goodbye today, can you do a little Belly Dances Autistic recap? How is dance life? How is your business? How are your clients? How is belly dance in general emblematic of autistic culture? How does it represent our culture?
It is, in my opinion, the dance form that accepts and celebrates our natural tendencies the most, that we can harness these things that people have told us not to do, like stimming, that we can harness them and make them into beautiful art.
So good. There it is in a nugget. Oh my goodness. I want everyone to hear this.
I want River. If you're listening, I would like an image of like a spinning wheel turning stimming into art somehow. I've got it in my mind. I don't know how to communicate that.
Yes.
Because oh my God, that would be such a good mug / t-shirt / pillow / whatever. Because I mean,
what if stimming
what
if it wasn't only not wrong, but what if it was like the core genesis of some of our best art as autistic people?
Seriously.
Exactly.
Like
that's
Questlove turning spinning records, and like Taylor with Shake It Off. Like, what if stimming is the core cultural attribute of some of our highest art?
Yes.
And I think it is. I think it can be. I think Dance Life represents that. Arielle, I am just so grateful you have shared so much of your wisdom. And there's so much more, you guys. We're going to put a bunch in the show notes. Follow her on social media and you will see there is just some real magic that you found. And I know it wasn't an easy journey to get there. Yes, it is a whole world. So anything else you want to add before we say goodbye?
I don't know if I mentioned this, but all of my classes are not just in person, but they're also offered live stream and recorded. I have equity discounts available for dancers on disability, and this is something that if anybody wants to be a part of it, there's a way to do it, and you can come in and shimmy stim with us anytime.
We'll put the link
like
in the show notes,
dancers. That's great.
Just say the link as well. We'll put it in the show notes, but I don't want people to have to go look for it.
Great, sounds good. So my studio can be found at madisondancelife.com. And if you're interested in the recorded platform, there's a little link on there that says on demand that'll take you over to that teachable library. So there's something for everybody on there. If you don't want to be in a group, if that's intimidating, I got you. And I would also like to say that I love this podcast so much. I told Angela that I think I'm the first super fan that's been interviewed. So it's been an absolute honor to be here and so wonderful to talk with both of you.
Oh my God,
it's
amazing.
Great to have you. I love the new language that we can use for all this because oh my God, it really does resonate. So yeah, that's so cool. Thanks for educating us. That's awesome.
My
I love it. I love it. Matt, other than recording this podcast, what was your favorite thing about being autistic this week?
Oh man, I just love. I think that I've talked about this before. My son loves fountains. My son loves towers. He loves studying everything so intensely. And yesterday I took him out and we went on our usual trip to see fountains. And I think that I've spoken about this before, but they finally added a third fountain. And we had to go and study the differences between the three fountains. And yesterday the wind was blowing really hard and it was causing like this circle of water to change position around the fountain because the fountain would come out and cause the circle of water around it, and the wind would cause it to ebb and flow and change shapes and change locations. And my son was studying this so intensely, and he was pointing out, there blows the wind, and now it's an oval, and now it's a circle, and just studying hydrodynamics and the movement of air and how all of this interrelated systems work on such an intense level for an 8-year-old. And we stayed out there for 90 minutes watching the interplay between the wind and the water and how it all affects everything. And oh my God, it was really enjoyable. And we just kind of sat there, and for a while we sat on a bench, but mostly it was just standing on the bank, just watching all this and, noting how things change. And that bottom up processing really, really tickles me. I love noticing new things, and yeah, it's fantastic. So that is our culture, and that is our life. And man, it made me proud to be autistic. So,
our podcast is always free, always will be free. That is our core offering. And because we love consistency, we do attempt to get this out at 9 a.m. Eastern every Tuesday. But there's lots of bonuses for people who do have a little bit of extra money and want to help support the show. You can do that as a paid member, and you can find that at autisticculturepodcast.com. And here's the fun thing. Almost every time I ask you what you love about being autistic, you mention Emmett. I feel like he's the unofficial third host of the show. And our paid members got to meet Emmett at our last Q&A.
And if you join our paid service, you get to... Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because he likes to come in and be our timekeeper, because he was like, it is 8:00. Okay, we will start. It is 9:00, and then he will get up and close all the. Yeah, he closes all the blinds, and he'll sit there and show off his clocks, and it's,
so while we do not guarantee you will meet Emmett as a paid member, there is a very good chance our other paid members have met Emmett. We would love you to join us if that works for your budget. If you really want to be a part of the paid community and that price doesn't work for you, just drop us an email. Just go to autisticculturepodcast.com, find that little contact and be like, hey, this is what I can afford, or this is what's going on with me. We would still love to have you in the bonus community. We will invent a scholarship for you if we need to, and you would like to get some of those bonuses. We would love to have you. For those of you who can help us subsidize the cost of doing this podcast, we love to give you lots of goodies, and there's more goodies coming your way. So keep an eye on your email. New podcasts still coming your way. We are shortly going on hiatus. So save up your favorites. We've got some bonuses for while we're on hiatus for a couple months doing our own meat body maintenance and other things. I think Matt and I are going to both move maybe on this hiatus. We'll see.
And you're moving across the ocean, so that's a gigantic thing. So yeah.
You've just got a state to move across. I've got a whole ocean to move across. But we've still got some episodes left in season 2. We hope you loved meeting Arielle today. I know that I was so excited when he said yes to being on the show, and I know you learned at least a little bit as much as we did. Listen twice. It's twice as nice. So Arielle, thank you again.
Thank you so much.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks for listening to the Autistic Culture Podcast.
If you like this show, you can help other people find it by taking a few minutes to rate and review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts.
You can find out more about writing your book with me at difference.press.com. That's difference, DIFFERENCE, press, PRESS.com.
or getting a psychological evaluation or consult with me at www.mattlowrylpp.com. That's M-A-T-T, Matt Lowry, L-O-W-R-Y, L-P-P, as in licensed psychological practitioner.com.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. And remember,
no one ever changed the world by being like everyone else.
Special thanks to our content manager, River Robbins, and Aaron Stoner, our producer, for making us look and sound good.